Hello, everybody. Good morning. Can you hear me, everyone? Got Julius, Michael, and is it Adam or Adam with me? Adam or Adam?
Okay.
Hi, good morning. So there are only 3 of you right now. So we're going to wait for a few more. Okay, Adam, is it, how do I pronounce your name? Is it Adam or Adam? Can you unmute yourself? You're shy, Adam. Okay, so we're going to wait for more people to come in. It's almost 9, 3 more minutes to 9. Okay, so once we've got at least 10 people in the room, then we are going to start the class, okay? So let's just wait a bit more.
What is your name? Yeah. Ini lagu BI yang pare.
Yes. Yes.
All right, everybody, we will begin in about 2 minutes, okay? So hang tight. Okay, people, good morning. So let's see how many of us we've got today. We've got Julius, Adiba, Adam, There are two Adams here. So Adam 1, Adam 2, Michael, Haris, Haja, and Irdina. Let me see. So 8 of you, if I am right, yes, all 8 of us. Okay, so we are going to begin, okay, everyone? Let me just, can you see my screen? Are you able to see my screen? You can type in the chat box if you're shy to just unmute yourself. Stop share for a while. Are you able to see my screen, everyone?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, okay, thank you for responding. Who was that?
Adam.
Adam, okay, there are two Adam, yeah? Two Adam. May I know, can you just type in the chat box, where are you listening from or where are you watching this webinar from? You can write in the chat box where your house is at, or are you currently on a vacation somewhere? Just type in the chat box so I know where most of you are from. Okay. Right, let me see. So where are you guys from? Are you from Selangor mostly? Or I heard there are a few people from Sarawak, right? So just type in the chat box from Selangor. Adiba, I hope you're not affected by the flood. Are you okay, Adiba? Hope your place is safe and sound. Okay, that's good to know. Thankfully, your place is okay. What about the rest of you, the two Adams? Where are you guys from? I'm from Penang, by the way. So right now, I am speaking to you guys from my house in Penang. So we've got Adiba from Selangor. What about you, Julius? Where are you from? Julius from Sarawak. Hello, Julius. Oh, Michael from Sarawak as well. Hello, hello. How's the weather in Sarawak? Is it cloudy? Is it raining? Or is it sunny in Sarawak? Haja from Selangor. Haja, I hope you're okay. Have you been affected by the flood, Haja? Okay, we've got two people from Sarawak, two people from Selangor. What about the rest of you? Where are you from?
Cloudy is cloudy.
Siapa
It's
lagi ni? Haris, where are you from, Haris? Haris from Selangor as well. So I hope all of you from Selangor, I hope you're not affected by the flood. Hopefully you guys are staying safe. Amira Irdina from Selangor, right, Amira? No, Amira, where are you from? Amira, Alia, Amira from KL. KL, I hope KL people are okay. Not so badly affected by the flood as well. Okay, we've got more people coming in. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you can just type in where you're from as I start the class. Okay. Could you put yourself on mute? Who is it that's talking right now? Let me see. Julius, could you put yourself on mute, Julius? Unless you want to ask me something. Do you have anything to ask me? Okay. So we are going to start right now. As you can see on the screen, today we'll be talking about essay, okay? And the topic of our class or our session for today is Write with Ease. And just for you to get to know me a little bit better, okay? So I think it's nice to know who you are dealing with or who your teacher is. So my name is Miss Aimi Shaira Saleh. You can call me Miss Aimi. I'm an English teacher. I've got 10 years of teaching experience. I've mostly been teaching in a secondary school. So my expertise would be SPM, PT3, and anything related to the national curriculum. I am also a tutor for English class Shah Alam. And some of my hobbies include traveling, coffee, cats, and photography. So any of you love cats? You can just write in the chat if you like traveling, if you like coffee, or if you like cats. Okay, so these are some of my hobbies. Right. So today people, what we are going to be looking at, hopefully in this 1 hour, we will be able to cover 3 objectives. 2 objectives only actually, and some in-class tasks for you, okay? So we will be looking at your part 1 in the writing paper SPM, which is the short communicative essay. And then we will look at part 2, the guided essay. So the do's and the don'ts for part 1 and part 2. Okay, if we have time, we will go in depth with part 2. If not, we will continue in tomorrow's class, okay? And I have some assignments or tasks for you guys in the class. We will be looking at 2 different essays and we will compare and contrast them and see which one is better. And then we will be looking at something really important in SPM, in the new syllabus, the new CEFR format. We have to identify formal and informal language. So we'll be looking at that as well. And another important criteria that you need to pay attention to in SPM, the new syllabus, is using the appropriate vocabulary in your essay. So far, any question? Or do you have anything that you would like to clarify looking at the learning objectives today? So don't be shy. If you have any questions, just unmute yourself and stop me. If you feel like I'm going too fast, you can also stop me. All right. And if you don't want to unmute yourself, you can type in the chat box. Okay. So are we okay so far, people? Yes. Let me look at the chat box since all of you. No question. You love cats and traveling. Good to know, Adiba. Yes. I'm a mama cat to 6 cats, yeah? Okay, so let's go into it. Right, first things first, people. This is what we're going to do. Sorry. Okay, so I would like you to go to this page and tell me what are your thoughts and feelings on writing. I'll be sharing the link in the chat box and you can just type what your feelings or your thoughts would be whenever you see the word writing or writing essay. Okay, let me just share with you the link over here. Okay, more people are coming in with, yeah. Where's the Padlet? Okay, sekejap. Okay, anyone familiar with Padlet? So first things first, we are going to play on Padlet and I would like to know what your thoughts are on writing. Okay, we'll answer gardens sekejap, yeah. Okay, not this one. Okay, just a second. Okay, more people are coming in. Let me look at where is my answer garden. Alamak, I cannot find my answer garden. Okay, never mind. Can you just type in the chat box, people, what you feel about writing whenever you see the word writing essay? Okay, you can give an emoji if you want to, like the screen, or you can just type out. Maybe you are fearful of writing, or maybe you're traumatized by writing, or you can use any emoji that you like to show your feelings of writing. So if you can quickly type in the chat box, how writing makes you feel, writing essay particularly. Asma, what's that? Is that perhaps I am interpreting that you have no feelings or you're just confused when it comes to writing? So we've got this emoji, if you can see here, this one. Confused. Okay, confused. Yes, I know a lot of you are confused when it comes to writing, especially with the new CEFR format. What about the rest of you? Julius, Michael, how does writing make you feel? Lukman, what's that? Do you love writing or you redha with writing? What is it? Sometimes I'm confused. Sometimes writing can be enjoyable too. Yes, I agree with you, Adiba. The rest, how does writing make you feel? Anyone love writing here? You can give this emoji, the heart-shaped eye emoji. Anyone does not like writing, it's okay, you know, I'm not going to judge. you just don't like writing. It could be one of the reasons you find English is so difficult for you is because of writing essays.
No, not really.
Not really. Okay, that's good to know, Rasida. Rasida, is it?
Yes.
Okay, Rasida. So it's good that we identify our feelings when it comes to writing so that we can make peace with that feeling. So in case writing makes you confused or if writing makes you a bit traumatized, you have to identify that first. And then from there, from that identification, we see what we can do to make us not so fearful of writing. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. All right, now, so first things first, what we are going to do is, okay, let me see if I've missed out any slide. Okay, this is an overview of our part 1 and part 2 in SPM, yeah, in the writing paper SPM. So part 1, you've got the short communicative essay, which is usually either they would ask you an email or a message. And then the word count is usually about 80 words. So this is part 1. And the marks is 20. Now let's go to part 2. Part 2 is guided essay. It's longer than email or message in part 1. And usually you would write about 4 or 5 paragraphs for part 2. And it's about 150 words. And again, it's also 20 marks. But how are they different? Part 1 and part 2, because they are both 20 marks. This is how they are different, yeah, people. Are you aware of what CEFR level means? Do you know what it means? Have you been exposed to CEFR? Again, you can unmute or type in the chat. Do you know what CEFR means? Can type in the chat tak? Tahu tak apa CEFR tu? Yes, but you forgot. That's fine because it's not important to you anyway. It's important, but more important to the teachers, I would say. Important for you and also the teachers, but maybe you don't know the technicality of it. So I'm going to explain to you. So Radia, you know what CEFR is. Do you mind explaining just briefly, Radia? What is CEFR? What does it mean to be looking at the CEFR level?
Recording in
Radia, would you like to try? Oh, Aisha. Aisha wants to try, is it? Aisha Sazali, do you have anything to say or ask? Okay, I think Aisha accidentally unmuted herself. But anyway, CEFR level is the level, the marking level for this new format of SPM. It's based on the Common European Framework. Okay, so English SPM Malaysia ni, they are based on this CEFR level. What it means, when we are marking your part 1 and part 2 essays, even though they are both 20 marks in nature, but it's easier to score for email and message part 1. Why? Because if you look at the graph here, the requirement level for you to score is only A1 and B2, meaning basic, okay? Basic A1 to A2, sorry, not B2, yeah? So what it means is, even if you have simple sentences, even if you have simple structures in email and message, it's easy for you to score higher marks, over 20. But when it comes to part 2, even though it's also over 20 marks, you see, we will look at the independent level. So meaning the requirement or the expectations from you would be higher. That's which means if the way you are writing is still similar to how you're writing for part 1, you may get lower marks. Okay? Maksudnya the marking ni lagi strict untuk part 2. Part 1 also over 20, tapi marking not as strict. But when it comes to part 2, it's stricter. And then when you go to part 3 pula, it's a lot more rigid. So that's how it goes. Walaupun semua over 20, tapi the difference would be how we mark your essay, meaning the requirements, how you present your writing in each paper ni should be different. Okay, so enough about that technicalities. Just to let you know, the essay level, yes, you are right, Lukman. So meaning, although semua over 20 markah dia, tapi when you're writing for part 1, simpler sentences would be okay. And then you go to part 2, you have to have more complex sentences. And then when you go to part 3, you have to be writing maturely. Okay, so that's how you get higher marks, because the level is like this graph. It goes up. Level for part 1, level for part 2, and level for part 3. Okay, so as long as you've got the idea, that's okay. Right, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, slide number 6. So basically, this is an overall view. It's important for you to know how you are being assessed by the examiners so that you can tackle your weaknesses. Okay, so what will we be looking at when we are marking your essay? There are 4 criteria here. Yeah. So number 1 is content, and the full marks is 5. So what do we mean by looking at content? Did you answer the question correctly? Have you covered every part in the question that's being asked? So that's number 1. And then number 2, do you have missing information? Once you have missing information, then your content cannot be 5. It will go down to 4, 3, and so forth. So for example, if you are writing an email and the email tells you to give an advice to your friend, but instead of giving advice, you tell a good news, for example, a piece of good news. So it has nothing to do with the question. Then content you dah tak menjawab soalan lah. So you would not be getting a 5. It will go down. Okay, and then we go to organization. So organization, what do we look at when it comes to organization? We look at how clearly you present your ideas. So from paragraph to paragraph, for example, is there cohesiveness or unity? Ada kaitan tak from paragraph 1 to paragraph 2, paragraph 3? Are there any connections, or they are not connected at all? So that's organization. Okay, we look at paragraphing, we look at cohesiveness, how ideas are linked, and we also look at, this is so important, people, cohesive devices or sentence connectors. So with the new CEFR format SPM ni, sentence connectors, cohesive devices are so important. So let's take a 1-minute break, and if all of you can just type, what are some of the cohesive devices or sentence connectors that you know in English? It's okay if you are wrong, that's fine, because this is a learning process. So just throw in any cohesive devices, sentence connectors, and linkers that you know. Moreover, after that, very good. So if you want to use to show sequence, macam mana? You can say firstly, next, besides that, furthermore. Yeah, if you can just look at the chat box here, some of your friends have shared besides, furthermore, all in all. So basically kata penghubung, that's sentence connectors. And sentence connectors are very important in this new format of SPM. Okay, so the easiest goes to, we've got the easiest ones that show sequence, like firstly, secondly, next, after that, last but not least. So those showing sequence, those are considered cohesive devices as well. Okay, all right, so that's organization. And then we go to communicative achievement. Communicative achievement is also important. What does it mean? It means, are you using the appropriate style? Contohnya, if you are writing an email, how should you sound like? How should the tone be? It should be friendly. So if you are writing email, but your tone is very formal, as if you are writing to your principal, then your communicative achievement would be lower. Okay? And then are you using formal or informal? So if you are writing an email, it should be informal, but it cannot be rude. You cannot use slang like wanna, gonna. So if you have that, it's going to bring down your marks as well. Okay, so that's communicative achievement. Mostly look at your style, your tone, and your language, as long as target audience, who you are writing to. If part 1 is writing to a friend, part 2 is writing to a teacher, so it has to be a bit more formal. This is CA, communicative achievement. And last but not least, of course, the most important part in English, looking at your language. Okay, do you have good range of vocab? Are you using the right words? Sometimes you may not be using the right words. For example, if you want to talk about a type of food that you like, so you would want to say it's mouth-watering, but you use the word, for example, such as inappropriate words like, I love the fries because it is super magnificent. So magnificent is not the word that you would use to describe a food item. Again, in CEFR, using the appropriate vocabulary is very important. Okay, so we look at your vocab, we look at your grammar, and we look at your sentence structures. Do you have only simple sentences, or do you have a good mix of simple, compound, and complex? Don't worry, we will be looking at this tomorrow, okay? Using different sentence structures. Oh, that was a mouthful. Okay, so all 5 marks for all 4 criteria. That's how you are being marked or being assessed for your essays. Any questions that so far? The highest 5, yeah, for each category. Content highest is 5, organization highest is 5, CA highest is 5, and language is also 5. That's the top or the best mark that you can get. Any questions so far, people, about the marking criteria? Anyone would like to clarify what is the score that you usually get in your exams? What is the highest you've gotten so far? Over 20. No question, yeah? Has anyone scored 20 over 20 before for any parts of their essay, either part 1, part 2, or part 3? Have you scored 20 over 20, meaning that's the perfect score? No, okay, never mind. So hopefully after this class, you will be able to score a 20 over 20. Okay, let's move on, everyone, to the next slide. Okay, let me know if I'm going too fast, yeah? I hope I'm not. So how are you feeling so far, everybody? Okay, good, coping. Are you already sleepy? We're only, 15 minutes into the class, yeah? Good, okay, good to know, good to know. But it's only Rasida, Lukman, and Radia Haja talking ni. What about Adam, the 2 Adams? What about Julius and Michael? Are you guys okay? Adam, you're okay, Adam? You've unmuted yourself.
Okay, teacher.
Okay, good to know. All right, so I hope you guys are following me. Again, if you have any question, you can chat right in the chat box. Or if you're shy, just privately message me on the chat box as well. That's fine.
Okay, teacher.
Okay. All right, let's go now. We are going into part 1, the email writing. Okay, so this is your part 1 in SPM. This is what you will be looking at. You will either be receiving a question about email or it's going to be about message. Okay, so either one of these two. Now, what we are going to do is, oh, Julius is okay. Good to know, Julius. And Farisha also good. Good to know. Okay, this is an example of how the question would look like. And this is the pre-writing checklist that you must wajib, yeah? You must make sure that you go through before answering the question. Not only for part 1, but also for part 2 and also for part 3. So in SPM, what's going to happen? I'm just going to let you envision the situation, yeah? You will be called into the hall about 15 to 20 minutes early. What they would do, they will be checking, all the housekeeping matters, your IC and things like that. And they would also allow you at least 10 minutes of reading time before the exam begins. So for example, if English paper starts at, writing paper starts at 8 a.m., you'll be called into the hall at 7:40, and by 7:50, they would allow you to do some reading. You're not allowed to touch any pens, but you can read. So as you read the question, these are the guiding lights or the guiding sort of like your guidelines as you read through the question. So number 1, because remember ya, kita punya marking scheme ada content, ada communicative achievement, ada organization, ada language. So as you read through mentally inside your head, ask these questions as you read through the instruction. So content, look at this. Number 1, how many parts of the question must you answer? How many parts are there? We will read afterwards and you will answer these questions, yeah? And number 2, what is your reason for replying this email? Are you going to give advice? Are you going to give suggestions? Or are you going to inform news? Because remember, if you tidak menjawab soalan, content, you cannot get 5. And for part 1 email, it's so easy to get 5. Okay, so that's number 1, content. Let's go to number 2, communicative achievement. What is the tone of the email? So you are writing to your friend, therefore, what's the tone? Is it friendly? Is it polite? It cannot be rude, okay? And then number 2, is it formal or is it informal? So again, because this is an email, hence, what's the tone, people? Is it formal or informal kalau email? People, is it formal or informal if it's email or message? It's, let me see. It's informal, yes, okay? And then you would want to see what would your ideas be. Okay, so this is for communicative achievement. Part 1, content, check these 2 questions. Part 2, communicative achievement, check these 3 questions. Mentally, tau, inside your head ni. As you read, you go through with yourself all these questions. And then organization, what should you be careful of? You should think about how many paragraphs in an email. So how many paragraphs, people, for email or message? How many paragraphs have you been writing bila you tulis part 1 ni? Is there a specific number of paragraph that you've been trained by your teachers? Or is it just free and open? How is it like? Let me know. 3 maybe, okay, 3. What about the rest? Radia say 3, 5, Harisha, okay. 1, Rasida say 1. What about the rest of you? 3, yes. Adiba said 3. Okay, all right. So for email, because this is part 1, yeah, remember? Part 1, only about 80 words. There's no problem. You can go more than 80, but don't get too caught up in writing so long for email because remember, you have 2 other essays. But email is only 80 words. 80, you can go up to 100 if you would like to. But about 80 words, having 2 paragraphs would be enough. One is actually, there is no specific, what do you call it? Specific regimen or a strict rule on how many paragraphs it should be for part 1 email. But I would say if you would like to write 2 or 3 paragraphs would be okay. Some people have only 1 paragraph and that's fine too. Like for example, if you look at this question, there's only 1 paragraph. But if you want it to look a bit more sort of like exam oriented, you can write it in 2 or 3 paragraphs. But I wouldn't penalize for those who even write 1 paragraph. As long as it has an informal tone and it is a friendly email. Okay, so for part 1 email, you can write between 1 to 3 paragraphs. 2 paragraphs, if you are writing 2 paragraphs, the second paragraph or the last paragraph could be just, I look forward to your reply, bye. So the ending could be the second paragraph. Up to you, all right? So between 1 to 2 paragraphs, 1 to 3 paragraphs, sorry, for email. All right, so do you have enough sentence connectors? So important, people, this one. You must have sentence connectors, even though this is a friendly tone, but you will have a friendly or informal sentence connectors. We will look at an example after this. And then are there cohesiveness between paragraphs and ideas? Are they connected? Are they answering the questions? So this is what cohesiveness means, yeah? And finally, language. Do you have a variety of appropriate vocabulary? Do you have compound and complex sentence structures? And do you have good control of grammar? So these are questions you must mentally ask yourselves when you are reading before the examination begins. Okay? You don't have to hafal all these questions, but just mentally remember them. And remember when you want to answer or you want to write, you have to make sure that your C, C-A, O, and L are appropriate and would allow you to get the highest band, which is 5. Okay, so far, any question? Do you have any questions so far? Adam and Adam? Adam 1, Adam 2? No? Okay, no. Right, good. So let's read, okay? So let's read the instruction here and we will try to answer all the questions that we have mentally made a checklist. Okay, who would like to read for me? Anyone would like to volunteer and read this question? Or do I have to randomly call names? Rasida, would you like to read?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, good. Thank you, Rasida. Okay, can you read, Rasida?
Rewriting checklist. Hi, Father's Day is around the corner. I am planning to buy a present for my dad. What do you think I should buy and where should I get it from?
Mhm.
I'm also concerned about the budget. How much should I spend it on? I'll be waiting for your reply. Bye.
Okay,
Now
this one.
write an email to your friend in about 80 words.
Okay, so this is what you'll be looking at, yeah, in SPM. So that's the question. Let's look at number 1 first, content. How many parts are there do you need to answer? How many parts, people? So this one you can highlight once the examiner or the invigilator say the exam, you can start writing now. So take your highlighter and highlight all the important parts. So part number 1, I'm applying, what should I buy for my father? That's part number 1. You have to mention a present for father. That's part number 1. Part number 2, where should I get it from? That's part number 2. Part number 3, budget. Okay, how much should I spend it on? So 3 parts that you need to make sure that you include in your essay. That's number 1, 3 parts. Okay, your reason for replying? Of course, to give suggestions. So make sure you're giving a suggestion, at least one suggestion. All right. And then tone, we've established that it's going to be friendly because this is a friend. It's going to be informal, and your ideas will revolve around these 3 things. What should the present be for the friend's father? Where should this person get it from? And how much is the budget? So ideas will revolve around these 3 points, okay? And organization, again, between 1 to 3 paragraphs. And sentence connectors, informal sentence connectors. And of course, a good variety of appropriate vocabulary. All right, let's have a look at a sample here. All right, okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Okay, more reading to do. This is your task number 1, yeah? Between the blue and the pink email, I would like you to tell me which one is better. Which one fits the tone of an email, which one has an informal language, and which one would give you a 20/20 score for part 1. All right, so I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to read both. And after the 2 minutes, you can just type in the chat box, is it the blue one or is it the pink one would get a higher mark or a higher band. Okay, 2 minutes reading time. Okay, if you're ready, you can just write in the chat box. Do you think it's blue or do you think it's pink? Which one fits the convention of a good email that would give you 20/20 for part 1 SPM writing? Okay, I've got one response, I think. The blue one. Okay, Radia said blue. What about the rest of you? Okay, Rasida said pink. Adiba said pink. Blue. Hari said blue. Okay, Farisha said pink. The rest, what do you think? Is it pink or is it blue? Hajar said pink. Okay, Hajar. Michael, Julius, Adam 1, Adam 2. Julius said pink. Adam said pink. Lukman said pink. Okay, I can distinguish Adam 1 has his name written in capital letter. Another one all in the normal font. Okay, Alia Batrisha said pink. Michael said pink with a question mark. Okay, we'll discuss that, Michael. Is it pink or is it blue? Adam with all caps lock said pink as well. Okay, we've got majority of you said pink, while a few of you said blue. Okay, do I have all? Has everyone responded? Is this everyone? Okay, Sophia said pink as well. Okay, so let us see. Is it pink or is it blue? A majority of you said pink, and you are right. Okay, pink is the convention. The pink one fits the convention of a good email. Why is blue not suitable? I mean, if you were to write like this, it's not that you're going to get 0, but you're not going to get a higher score as compared to pink one. Anybody know why? Does anybody know why the blue one does not fit the convention of a good email? It's got good English. There's no grammatical errors at all. There are no grammatical errors in the blue one or the pink one. But the pink one would get a higher band. Why is that? Anybody knows? You can just type in the chat box. Why can't the blue one get a higher band or a higher score compared to the pink one? Let me see some of the responses. The vocabulary, Alia, very good. Too formal, Rasida, yes. Very, very good, okay? So number 1, yes, it's a bit too formal because when you are writing email to your friend, do you say, how are you? You usually don't write. You are not so formal with your friends. All the formalities, we would usually keep it to formal occasions, like you're writing to your lecturers or your teachers or to your boss. But to your friend, you would not say, how are you? I hope you and your family are in the pink of health. So no. No longer this year in the pink of health. Semua dah tak mau dah. Okay, it cannot be used anymore. It's not relevant because you don't talk to your friends like that. So how do you start the email? Just straight away go, it was great to hear from you. As simple as that, because that's how email works. Emails are not letters. They are usually short and sweet. Okay? And then you look at this part here where my cursor is pointing. Regarding the question in your email, wow, that's very formal. When you are writing a formal letter to a future employer or to complain about something, yes, you can say this, regarding. Regarding is very formal, all right? So let's look at, since we've established pink is the better email, let's look at why pink would give you higher marks, okay? And again, I would like to point out some words here that are very formal. For example, may. May shows a sense of formality, the model may. You, may, us. So if you want to change and make it less formal, you can say you could us, all right? Instead of saying may, because again, may is very polite and very formal. You don't want to be using may in your email. So now let's look at why pink is the better option. So again, I would like someone to read for me. Anyone would be kind enough to read for me? So as you can see, there are 3 paragraphs in this essay, in this email. And the last paragraph is just as simple as, anyway, I've got to dash. Good luck. Good luck can be in the same line. So 2 to 3 paragraphs would be okay, would be sufficient for email. Can I hear a boy now to help me read this email? Anyone would like to volunteer? Anybody? Any boys? Or girl, maybe, no problem. Can I hear from someone reading this email? We can take turn. We can take one person reading first paragraph and maybe another person reading the rest of the paragraphs. Who would like to read? Ada ke volunteer? Ke I panggil nama? Boleh?
I not try to.
Hi, teacher.
Can Adam. Okay, Adam, and another one, the girl. Who was it that say yes, teacher?
Me,
Okay, Adam.
teacher.
Adiba, is it?
Yes.
Okay, Adiba, you'll be reading the second paragraph. Adam will read the first one. All right, Adam? Okay, Adam, off you go. You can start, Adam.
Okay. Hi Sarah. It was great to hear from you. As for your question on Father's Day gift, I'm sure your dad would appreciate anything that you get him. So I suggest that you surprise him with a special lunch treat at his favorite restaurant. Since your dad is a foodie, I'm sure he's going to have a blast having a hearty lunch treat him with his loved ones.
All right, good. Thank you, Adam. Adiba, would you like to continue?
Yes. Oh, about the project, fret not. I'm sure you and your siblings don't mind chipping in as well for the meals. Don't forget to call up the restaurant in advance to make a reservation and get them to set up the table with some balloons and other birthday decorations. It will be splendid. Anyway, I've got to dash. Good luck.
Okay, good. Thank you, Adiba. Right. So, do you realize how informal and friendly the tone is? Right. It's like, you feel like you're talking to your friend. So communicative achievement achieved because you're talking to a friend, that's your target audience, and you have to be friendly. And at the same time, you have also to be polite. And I would like you to pay attention to the words and the phrases in blue. These are all the informal vocabulary or the suitable vocabulary that you should use when writing an email. Okay, so instead of saying, how are you? I hope you and your family are in the pink. You can just say, it was great to hear from you. And then if you notice, what do we call this type of structures? You see, I'd, I'm, his, don't. All these with the apostrophe. What do we call this? Do you know? Anybody knows what we call this structure? Does anyone know what they are called? The one with the what do you call it? What did I mention just now? We call it the contractions. Okay, so contractions like this, I'm, don't, I'd, they are only allowed in email writing in part 1. When you go to part 2, when you go to part 3, these contractions, the one with the apostrophe, they are all forbidden. Okay, they are only allowed when you are being friendly and you are being informal. These are all shorts for I am, for he is, for do not. So again, it's only allowed for email and message in part 1. Part 2 and part 3, because you are going to use semi-formal and formal language, these are all not allowed. Okay, that's another sort of like indicator that you are fitting the convention of an email. You use contractions. So these are all allowed. Okay, though is a sentence connector, but it's sort of like the more informal sentence connector of saying however. If you say however, that's a bit formal. So how do you change it? You say though. Okay, and then you've got all these interjection or things that show feelings. Shoo, things like that you may use in email where appropriate. Only when appropriate. If it's not appropriate, don't use it. You can say, that shows informality. Fret not. Fret not is another informal way of saying don't worry. So fret not, don't worry. Okay? And then you can say call up. Call up means to ring or just to call. That also shows informality. Okay? These are all informal vocabulary that will give you higher band for email or message in part 1. Any questions so far? Do you have any questions so far? About informal language, about friendly tone, about email, anything you would like to ask? No, yeah, okay. So remember, vocabulary, informal language, sangat-sangat penting when it comes to part 1 email message. You have to learn to distinguish between what's formal, what's informal. And you can use contractions in email to show that you are being friendly with your reader. Okay, you don't have to write your name pun ya. Dekat bawah ni tak payah kata yours sincerely ke from your friend. It's not necessary. Okay, if you write yours sincerely, you might get lower mark for communicative achievement. Because in email, do you write yours sincerely? You don't write. You don't say yours sincerely ke your friend ke. It's very rare. Again, name is not compulsory. All right, so that's an example. This is an example of a good email. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, now we are going to look at what's formal and what's informal language. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. How many words and phrases are here? Let me see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16, 8 belong in the formal and another 8 belong in the informal. So for about 2 minutes, if you can just list down in the chat what's formal, what's informal, that will be great. Or after 2 minutes, I'm just going to ask you to tell me a few formal words that you find and a few informal words from the list that you find. Okay, so have some time to look at them. You can write in the chat box if you want to. So we've got 8 formal, 8 informal here. They would help you when you are writing your email and message. How are we with time? Okay, I think with part 2, we may need to continue tomorrow, but that's okay. Okay, take a good look and decide which one goes into formal, which one goes into informal. Okay, formal in my opinion, good diba? So one formal in my opinion. What's the informal version of in my opinion? Okay, you can list them down. I think good. I believe can be the informal version, Diva, yes? All right, have you had formal? Rasida said formal is assist and require. Good. Informal though, Farisha, yes, as we've read from the email just now. Though is the informal version of however. Julius said informal help. Very good, Julius. So what's the formal version of help? Informal is help. Formal? What's formal for help? Formal in conclusion, Lukman. Yes, correct. That's true. Informal is to sum up. Very good, Radia. Asma Radia. Okay, so formal is in conclusion. Informal is to sum up. Good. It's nice if you can do sort of like a pair, like what Asma just did, yeah? Rasida, informal is chance. What's the formal version, Rasida, of chance? Or chance, if you prefer the US version. Opportunity, good. So when you're writing an email, you can say chance. But if you are writing part 2 or part 3, you would use opportunity. Okay? Opportunity is spelled with an O, yeah, Rasida? Like Oppo. Remember that? The handphone Oppo. So it's opportunity. That's a good one. Oppo. Remember the phone Oppo and then opportunity. What other pairs do we have here? Okay, Asma said formal is require, informal is need. Very good. So you would say, I need you to help me for email. But if you are writing for part 2, you would say, my teacher requires me because it's formal. What else? What else? Have we covered all? Let's see. Have we covered all? Okay, what about moreover, people? Is moreover formal or informal? Oh, someone's coming at my house. So is it formal or informal for moreover? Moreover, macam mana people? Is it formal, informal? Yes, moreover is formal. What is the informal version of moreover? Anybody knows from the list? There's an informal version of it. So let's see if anyone got it. Plus boleh, yes. Plus can. What's from the list? From the list ada ni. The informal version of moreover. Anybody knows? What is it from the list that is the informal pair to moreover? Does anybody know? Though not so. Though is the informal version of however. Besides that, yes, good, Rasida. Okay, so moreover would be formal, and the informal version would be besides or besides that. All right, I think we've covered all. So basically, you know how to differentiate formal and informal language. When you're writing for email, make sure you go for the ones in this little bucket here. So you would say besides that, you would say need, you would say though, you would say I believe, you would say chance. Okay, so it's going to be a bit more friendly. But again, I would like to emphasize this because I know a lot of you think that if we are speaking about informality, you are allowed to use slang. No, yeah? The words such as wanna, gonna, and all those slang, they are still not acceptable for English essays, not for SPM, and not for any English writing examinations at this point. Okay? Have any question? Oh, what is the informal word for assist? Let's see. So assist, yes. Assist is formal, kan? So what is the informal word? Anybody can let us know what's the informal word for assist? Assist is formal. Assist, could you assist me? No, not need, Lukman. Help, yes. Okay. So Radia, Asma Radia, you are right. Assist is the informal, assist is the formal version. When you go to the bank, you could say, could you assist me with my account? But if you go to somewhere more formal, like a restaurant, for example, you would say, can you help me with the menu? So assist versus help. Okay, any other questions about formal and informal language? Okay, yeah, people. So again, no slang, even though you can use informal words and you can be informal, do not use slang, but you can use contractions. I'm, don't, she's, I'd. So those contraction with the apostrophe, that's allowed. Okay, so far, let's see, where are we at now? Okay, so far, how are you feeling? We have come to the end of part 1, email. How are you feeling so far? You can use emoji in the chat box. And if you have any questions, do you have any questions about part 1? Ada apa-apa you tak faham and something that's been bothering your mind and you would like to really clarify anything about part 1? Okay, let me see what are the emojis so far. Great. Okay, good to know. Lukman is smiling widely from ear to ear. Okay, that's good to see. Good to see Julius. Adiba's got her sunglasses on, so I'm assuming that's good. What about the rest? Do you have any questions or not about part 1? Anything you would like to ask? I hope all is good, yeah? Okay. Let me see if there are questions. No question. Okay, good. So part 1 is the easiest. Should be easy if you know the right way and technique of scoring. Okay. So just to recap, part 1 is email or message in about 80 words. You can go over up to 100 if you want to, but do not go too much. Don't go overboard. You use friendly tone and informal language. You can use contractions, but you cannot use slang. Okay. And you see word like, if you notice in the email just now, I've used the word foodie. That's acceptable. You can also say insta-worthy. That's an acceptable word. Okay. What else? Yeah, viral. Okay. Words like that, that has been somehow accepted into the informal English language. They are not slang, but they are more informal and urban words. Okay, but make sure that you use words that have good meanings. Okay, don't use words that have been viral, but they do not have, they have negative connotations to them. So try not to do that. Okay, let me see if there are questions. Oh, we use past tense or present tense email. That's a good question. There are 3 questions here. I'm going to go to them one by one. Past or present tense people in the email, what do you think? Anybody would like to answer that? Is it past tense or present tense in writing email? Present tense, present, yes. Depending on the question, okay? So why do I say depending on the question? So for example, you receive an email like just now that we have read, asking for your suggestions on Father's Day gift. Because you are giving suggestions, it will be in present tense. But if, let's say, you receive an email from your friend asking you to share your experience about traveling overseas, for example, so then you would be using past tense, okay? But most of the time, the questions in email would be either to give advice or to give suggestions. So most of the time, most likely you will be using present tense, okay? But again, depending on the question. Right, so that's question number 1. Let's look at other questions. Okay, Adiba asks, is counting words compulsory? No, you do not have to count words. You do not have to count the words. But just know that the examiners will not be counting the words as well, except if we notice that it seems, your essay seems a bit too short. Normally, the examiners could tell, yeah? You look at the length of the paragraph and you feel like, oh, this doesn't look like it's 80 words. So the examiners would begin counting. But for you, it's not compulsory for you to count the number of words. Unless you're really not sure if you have reached at least 80 words, then you should start counting. But just know the length, know the size of your handwriting and know the length. If you know that that length would already be more than 80 words, you do not have to count. Okay, that's question number 2. And then question number 3, if the question asks our opinion about ways, how many ways do we have to give? That's a good question. Again, you have to read the questions carefully. That's why, let's go back to the previous slide, yeah? That's why, minus slide tadi. Okay, this one. That's why here, the first thing you should understand, how many parts of the question must you answer? So if the question here say, I'm planning to buy a few gifts for my dad. Hence, you know you must be giving more than 1 suggestions. But here it says, I'm planning to buy a gift or a present. So you know you should only give only 1. Okay? Unless, again, if the essay says here, I'm planning to buy a present for my dad, and then at the end it says, could you give some suggestions? Then you'll be giving at least 2. You should be giving at least 2, depending on the question. That's why it's so important, people, highlight all the key terms so that you do not miss out any point. Because let's say the question wants you to give more than 1 suggestion, but you have given only 1, your content will go lower, the marks for content. So dia tak menjawab soalan lah. And if let's say the question asks you to give only 1 suggestion, and then you get too excited and you give so many suggestions, even though you've got good control of grammar, good vocab, again, for content, you would not be getting 5. So that's why it's so important to have all these questions mentally when you're reading. Okay? Right, so let's see another question. Do we have any other question tak? Ada soalan lagi tak, people? About part 1? Let me see if there aren't any more questions. No, okay, good to know. We are going to move a bit into part 2 so that tomorrow you get an idea about what you'll be doing, okay? Okay, let me just go quickly. Again, I want to point out to this word foodie. Foodie is a word derived from the Instagram culture, and it has been accepted into English language. Okay, and you can only use in email or message, not in other parts of the essay. Right, so let's see what's next. All right, so part 2, people, we'll go a bit into part 2, yeah? So that tomorrow we know what we will be looking at. See? All right, so part 2 is guided writing. This is an example of guided writing in SPM. Let's read together, and at least we will have an idea what the question in SPM looks like. What are the expectations from us? So before we end, can someone volunteer and read? This would be the last reading task for today. Anyone would like to volunteer and read? Anybody? Let's listen to someone from Sarawak, shall we? Julius or Michael? Or both of you can read. Julius, Michael? Are you guys there? Julius and Michael, would you mind reading? Ada tak ni? Let me ask Julius to unmute. Julius and Michael, do you guys want to read today or not today? Or Rasida? Rasida, you have read today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's just wait for Julius. Maybe Julius and Michael are not feeling it today. So Rasida, that's okay. You can continue and read for us.
You must answer question. Write your answer in between 125 until 150 words in an appropriate style.
Okay.
You have been talking about the environment in class. The teacher has asked you to write an essay about an activity that you would like to try to help protect the environment.
Okay.
In your essay, you should write about the activity you would take up, reasons for your choice, ways to encourage others to care about the environment.
All right. Thank you, Rasida. Okay, so this is how your part 2 would look like. And again, as any parts in the English examination, always and always ask the same questions when you have the reading time. So this is the pre-writing checklist. So we are going to check how many parts of the question are there and what's the reason for us in writing this essay. What about the tone? Is it formal? Is it informal? And what would our ideas be? And then the organization, how many paragraphs? So how many paragraphs for part 2? Part 2 is 125 to 150 words. If you can just type in the chat box, how many paragraphs usually would you be writing for part 2? Part 2 would be 5. Okay, Adiba. 5, Asma Radia. Yes, what about the rest of you? How many paragraphs usually? 5, 5. Yes, I've got 3, 5. 4 or 5, Lukman. Yes, Farisha, 5. Adam also 5. Okay, so yeah, basically for part 2, it's usually 4 or 5 paragraphs. But to make it easier, let's keep it to 5, as we can remember this ice cream cone. The intro would be the cherry on top, and then we've got body 1, the first scoop, body 2, the second scoop, body 3, the third flavor and scoop, and finally the cone would be the conclusion. So 4 or 5. But if you want to make it easy, keep it in 5 paragraphs, okay? And then again, sentence connectors, despite any parts in English, they're all equally important. And then there should be cohesiveness between one paragraph to the other. There must be connection between the ideas, okay? And then the language, appropriate vocabulary, the compound and complex sentence structures, and finally, good control of grammar. Okay, so let's look at the question again. We will answer a few questions before we end the class. So how many parts are there, people? How many parts in the question do you need to answer? If you want to write in the chat box, how many parts are there? Let's see how many parts. 3. Asmaradia said 3. Rasida said 3. Adiba said 3. Okay, is it 3? Let's look at this, yeah? So you have been talking about environment in the class, and your teacher has requested you to write an essay on how to protect the environment. You should write about activity you would take up. So here, how many activity should you be talking about? Write about the activity you should take up. How many activity or how many activities? How many activity? 1. Yes, Adiba. Okay. So this one, because you want your, sorry, wait, I'm just going to close this. Your teacher asked you to write an essay about an activity. So only one activity, yeah. If you go on and if you have given so many activities, instead of focusing on one, you may get lower band for content. Sebab tidak menjawab soalan. So talk about only one activity that you would take up, and then reasons for your choice. So this one ada S, meaning you have to be giving at least 2 reasons. At least meaning minimum 2 reasons. And then the last part, ways to encourage others. So the last part point, you have to give at least 2, minimum 2. So one activity, at least 2 reasons for your choice, and at least two ways of encouraging others to care for the environment. All right. So this is part 2, which we will look into tomorrow. Inshallah, we'll look into it in depth tomorrow for part 2. I'm going to stop sharing now. Before I end the class, does anybody has any questions? Do you want to clarify something, or would you like me to talk about something more tomorrow? So you can request, yeah, if you want me to talk about something that's related to the writing paper SPM tomorrow. You can type in your requests. Teacher, our only emails that part can ask us is either email or message, Asma. Email or message. And they're both informal. Okay? Usually you'll be writing to families or friends. Anything you would like me to cover tomorrow? So tomorrow we'll be looking at part 2 and a bit of part 3. Maybe not so much in depth about part 3. Tomorrow, part 2, and looking at writing better sentence structures. Okay? So any other questions? No, yeah? So it's already 10:10. And tomorrow I'll be seeing you at 9 a.m. again, inshallah. If we could all come on time tomorrow so that we can cover as much as we can until in this 1 hour that we've got. Okay? Teacher can list appropriate proverbs. Proverbs. Okay. Proverbs are not compulsory or are not necessary when writing part 2, Adiba. But if you would like to include them, that's good. So for example, if you're talking about time or saving time, you can use the proverb. Proverb is like peribahasa, yeah? You can say, time and tide waits for no man. So that's a proverb. If you know a proverb, but if you do not know, then it is not compulsory for you to write them in part 2. But I will come up with some lists of proverbs that would be suitable for environment, and we can talk about it tomorrow. Okay? Any other questions? Anything you want me to cover? Am I going too fast? Have I gone too fast with the class today? Would you wish me to go slower, or are there any personal requests that you would like? No? Okay, if that's the case, I'll see you guys again tomorrow at 9, everybody. So have a good day and make sure you come with the fresh mind tomorrow, and any questions that you would like to clarify about the writing paper, you can give it to me tomorrow. Okay, so I'll see you guys tomorrow, yeah, again. and have a good day. Bye bye, everyone.